which actually brings me to my next few clips. So we just obviously had a guilty verdict last week with Donald Trump in the New York case where he used campaign funds basically to pay off a porn star to keep her quiet, to not say anything before an election, which is illegal. You'll have a lot of people out there saying, this never happened before. And in a way, they're right, because there hasn't been many people who were running for president who've paid off porn stars and used that later to protect himself and use campaign funds. You're certainly not allowed to do that. Now, of course, MAGA World will try to compare a bunch of different things that have happened in the past and say, well, why didn't this person get arrested? Why didn't that? They have absolutely zero interest in looking up the facts. Try to ask somebody if they know the difference between when Mike Pence and Joe Biden took classified documents and they were found in their home versus what Donald Trump did. And they think it's the same exact thing, which they don't know is completely two different things that are, again, I encourage anybody. I've said this before on our show. I've said it to anybody that I talk to, whether they're voting for Biden, whether they're voting for Trump. If you have not had a chance to read the indictment for the classified documents case, take yourself 45 minutes to an hour. It's easy read. I believe it's like 49 pages long. The first 10 pages is just kind of it's talking about what's involved, all that stuff. It doesn't get to the meat of it. So you could kind of flip through a little bit of it and then get to the meat of it and understand exactly what the difference is between Joe Biden, Mike Pence, and what Donald Trump did. I mean, Mike Pence and Joe Biden, I will admit, I still don't understand why these guys, whoever they are, just take these documents, go home, put them somewhere, and don't understand that they have them or don't remember why they had them or why they took them home. That is a mystery to me. And if anybody wants to have a discussion, I don't care who did it. I am interested and curious as to why this happens. It is just very bizarre. But the difference between what Donald Trump did and what Biden and Pence did, Biden and Pence, their attorneys or whoever found out that there was documents in there, they instantly called and said, hey, we have these documents, please come get them. Donald Trump had to be called and say, we know you have these documents. And he said, no, I don't. And they said, yes, you do. And he's like, no, I don't. Leave me alone. And after a while, they said, look, man, we're just going to come to your house and we're going to check your house to get these documents. I don't have them. So they go finally after a year. They gave this guy a year to admit that he had the documents, to admit, or just to give them back. That's all they were asking to do. And he did not give them back. He lied to them numerous times. They go into his house. They find the documents. You've seen the pictures. You've seen the news. They pull the documents out, and then all of a sudden he changes his story. He says, well, I'm president. I can declassify things if I want to. I can take them. They're mine. And it turned into this whole thing. And, again, it's just so infuriating that this trial probably won't happen this year, and neither will the Georgia one. And neither will the January 6th one. That one has an outside shot. The Georgia one's definitely not happening. I think we all saw that, and we talked about that on our last show. But it doesn't look like the documents case is happening. In fact, there's talk that Judge Eileen Cannon might even try to throw this case out altogether, which is insane because, again, if you read the indictment, you will find that there is no chance of him getting out of this. None. It is an airtight case that is open and shut. It is a slam dunk case that Donald Trump would be convicted again of however many counts he was charged for in that particular case. But please go read the indictment. But anyway, let's get back to, what I was talking about is the innuendos and everything that major news channels use. Again, back in the old days, there were real journalists. There were people who were they cared about reporting the news. And now we have channels like a Fox News who not only do not care about the truth, they care about spewing out propaganda to really mix up the heads of their viewers. And, the fact that they were sued and they settled, they didn't even lose the case. They settled because they probably thought they had no chance in that case, and they were going to settle for a lower amount of what the Dominion voting machines were suing for. $787.5 million they had to pay out. This is a news organization for flat lying every day to their viewers without hesitation, without caring about the viewer, without caring about the country, without caring about our democracy and the fairness in our voting. The Department of Justice of Donald Trump and their own Department of Justice, their own election officials came out and said that this was the safest election in the history of our country because it came through a time where a national pandemic was coming through and raging through the country. And basically what they're doing is they're using that pandemic as a way to say there was a lot of irregularities. Well, there was some different ways that people voted. There were, it certainly wasn't the same election that we've always seen, but there has been zero proof, zero evidence that anything had been done wrong during that election. And that has proven out time and time and time and time. In fact, there were 60 court cases that they tried to file. And I can say time 60 times if you want me to, but you understand what I'm saying. Time and time and time and time and time and time again, that nothing nefarious, nothing illegal happened during that election that would have overturned the results. In fact, anything that I saw that was illegal, there were a lot of Trump voters who illegally voted in that election. And then also, too, you go back to the Arizona recount. It was done by the cyber ninjas, who apparently is, if I remember correctly, and I'll have to go back and look, but I know they were more of a right-leaning sort of group. They went ahead and did a complete recount in Arizona. Not only did they find that there was nothing illegal done, they found that Joe Biden won by Arizona by even more than they thought the original time. But anyway, let's get back to this clip here. This is Jesse Waters talking about Donald Trump and after the election. And I mean, he is just down in the dumps about this. And again, I just want to keep everybody, I just remind everybody that this is a major news channel at 8 p.m. prime time, probably the most watched hour between 8 and 9 o'clock on a consistent basis every night. This is Jesse Waters. And he is so bad, and he's not bright at all. But a lot of people watch him. The good news is that Fox News ratings are nowhere near what they used to be. But there are enough people that still watch this. But I don't understand how you can listen to this and go, dude, I don't know how I take you seriously. But this is really pathetic, but it's also scary.
And these nitwits, consumed with hatred, are trying to destroy a man because he threatens their power. These are wicked people.
Like I said, I want to point out the language too. The language is wicked. He's talking about the people that are doing it. And all this is intended to do is to get the viewer angry, to get them boiled up, and to get them prepared and ready for a fight that they 100% want to happen. They are putting it in the minds of people to try to get it to happen. I personally believe that there will be a small percentage of people. And when I say small percentage, I don't mean 5-6 people. I mean, it could be a large amount of people like we saw. You would consider the January 6th crowd a large crowd, but overall, it's a very small percentage of people. And I think what they want to do is they want to get this in their head to get them boiled and their blood boiled. They know that they don't just watch this night and are getting them angry. They know that these viewers are watching this night after night after night after night. And when they use language like this, it's making them angrier and angrier and convincing them somewhere in their brain that maybe they do need to get ready for a fight.
Obsessed with a person, and we will seek justice. We guarantee that.
More language. We will seek justice. We guarantee that. If you're telling me that that's not a, and by the way, let's make one thing clear. This guy that you see on the screen, Jesse Waters, is going out to fight nobody. Trust me. This is, again, another snake oil salesman who's trying to get you to do, not you guys, but them to do his bidding, to do Donald Trump's bidding, while they sit back and laugh at you idiots for going out on the streets with your guns. And next thing you know, you're in front of a judge crying and weeping that you're never going to see your daughter again. Please, judge, let me out. And the judge goes, dude, yeah, you're a fucking moron. You shouldn't have done it.
This man's life is a Greek tragedy.
Oh.
From billionaire, bankruptcy, TV star, Hollywood Walk of Fame, divorces, marriages, children,
bankruptcies, divorces. It's such a tragedy. All this awful stuff happens to this poor guy.
And that was even before he enters politics. And then you have investigations and hoaxes and a pandemic.
Hoaxes.
Mm-hmm. And now they're trying to incarcerate this person.
You know, he uses the word hoaxes. And, you know, part of the hoax that they always talked about was about the election being stolen. And the fact that he's still using this language after his network was sued for $787.5 million is amazing to me.
And the only way this act ends if he is reelected.
It cuts off there, and I'm concerned or interested to hear what he had to say towards the end. But, you know, Jesse Waters says himself, and I think I've heard him say this before. I'll go back and look it up because I don't like to be wrong, but I'm almost positive it was him that says he doesn't like to go on other talk shows because he's going to be exposed as an idiot. In essence, that might not have been the exact words, but I think he said something to that effect, and he would be 100% right. He would not go on other shows that would challenge his very feeble brain because he knows it would not work out well for him. But anyway, there's another clip where Judge Janine, and again, this is concerning because she was an actual judge and she should know the law, but this was her take on the trial and how Donald Trump, of course, you know, this poor guy just never gets a fair shake.
All of a sudden, this defendant now is finding out what the other crime is. He was denied his Fifth Amendment right to know the charges against him in the indictment, the bill of particulars, discovery, and in the opening statement, and throughout the trial.
The most concerning thing about that is she was a judge and he was not denied his Fifth Amendment right. He was denied his Sixth Amendment right, is the one that she's talking about. But of course, he was not denied that right. He was not denied the charges against him. He knew the charges against him. In fact, if even on TV court shows, on movie court shows, they always ask the defendant, do you understand the charges against you? And you have the ability to say yes, or you have the ability to say no. And I don't know if there's a court case that has ever gone by where a judge did not ask, do you understand the charges against you? That didn't happen. First of all, I know it didn't happen in that trial because there's a transcript that shows that the judge clearly asked Donald Trump, do you understand the charges against you? And he clearly said he does. So again, major news channel with the anger, trying to get people upset, trying to get a group of people who they at this point know does not care about the truth, but they're going to believe her truth. They're going to believe Jesse Waters' truth. They're going to believe whatever truth it is that makes them feel comfortable about their anger towards the libtards or the left or liberals, whatever the fuck they call everybody. What they don't understand and what they will never understand is that the so-called left, and I want to point out one thing, by the way, and I'll get back to my original point here, but I personally am not a big fan of the labels. I don't like to be labeled as liberal or left or progressive or whatever it is. What I personally like for me is, that, damn it, my battery's getting ready to go dead. Hold on. There is no way I can record this show. Has anybody ever watched a podcast where somebody just fucking ran off so they could charge their battery? I don't believe I didn't put my charger in here. But anyway, what I was trying to say is that the difference, this is what I feel. I feel like I like to just get up. I like to go to bed, wake up in the morning, spend my day, go to bed during that day. And in that time, I like to be able to go through life without trying to figure out what I'm mad at that does not affect me in my life. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm angry about things that are going on in this country. There's absolutely no question about it. But it affects people that I know and love. It affects, a lot of people, even if I don't know them. It is just something that I not am in the same camp as people who decide that they want to hate different groups of people, whether it be their color, whether it be their sexual orientation, their religion, what country they're from. That never resonates with me. I don't understand why that happens. And not to mention, a lot of it is based on stuff that just isn't true. I've talked about this a billion times. The transgender community, first of all, there's very little of them nationwide and percentage-wide that for me, it would be considered what people are calling an issue. But if you are a transgender person, I have to decide when I wake up in the morning or before I go to bed, does this affect my life in any way? And the answer is no, it doesn't. And you know what? At the end of the day, too, they're human beings. I've talked about this too before, that they also have parents, and parents don't want to see their kids hanging from a ceiling when they come home because the suicide rate is very high in that community. So, that's just where the big difference is for me. And I'll just never understand it.